Well, we're off to Southern California again, back
Yes.
to the Petersen.
Yes.
That's because while we were there a while back, we also filmed the Mullen Gallery
Did.
and the Mullen Grand Salon, they call it, which is their Bugatti collection.
Wow.
Most of the Bugattis there belong to the Mullen family,
Yes.
hence the name, the Mullen Salon there, the Grand Salon. The Mullen family also has their own museum where they keep their Bugattis in Oxnard, and most of the collection's up there all the time.
Wow.
But some of the cars, just, a smattering $100 million worth or so, are sent down to the Petersen, and they'll be on display down there. The most expensive cars ever created, Bugattis, at the
Yes.
Mullen Gallery in the Petersen Car Museum. Check it out.
I like to go to the Petersen Automotive Museum there in Los Angeles. I've been there 2 other times.
It's a great place. They have a lot of different displays.
They sure do. Look at these.
These are little drift cars. This is a Tesla chassis.
Oh my.
And you know me and visible gas
Oh,
pumps.
of course. I love them too. Those are cool.
If any one of these followed us to Garage Mahal, it could live there in the driveway, no problem. This is the Jaguar gallery there in the Petersen. They've got 3 Jags here. This is the original Jaguar, the SS Jaguar 100.
Wow.
Jaguar was the model, not the company name back then. 100 referred to its top speed, 100 miles an hour. And this is, oh my heck, an XKSS. My favorite Jag. This one belonged to Steve McQueen.
Oh my, seriously.
And he said it was his favorite car of all time. He preferred driving this Jag. It was sort of a predecessor to the XKE,
Oh,
which is just a legendary car. This is the XJ220.
oh my, look at that.
And here again, the 220 refers to the top speed.
Woo.
They wanted this thing to go 220 miles an hour. In the late 1980s, Ferrari and Porsche were battling it out to break 200 miles an hour. Porsche did with the 959, and Ferrari did with the F40. And along comes Jaguar, of all companies, and wants to break that record and hit 220 miles an hour.
Good heavens.
Which they almost did, 219 miles an hour, and they broke the track record for production car at the Nürburgring.
I love this car. Everything about it. Look at the color and the lines and the roof line. My goodness.
At the track, however, a lot of drivers found it just to be a terrifying car.
I imagine.
Those kinds of speeds, and it didn't have a computerized suspension like modern cars, and it's just a real handful. A Formula car driver could handle this thing, but boy, talk about leaving a spot on the seat.
I imagine.
It sort of depends on how fast you're driving it. That's where that name came from, is Depends Underwear. And this was the Jaguar's arch rival, the Bugatti EB110.
Oh my, but look at that one.
It is gorgeous. Same speeds, came out the same year, ran neck and neck with the Jaguar. A legendary rivalry there. But Michael Schumacher picked this car for his personal ride.
Oh my.
Of course, he also crashed it.
Oh dear.
Because it's just as unstable as the Jag. Getting that kind of speed into cars in the early 1990s, well, you just better know what you're doing to get behind the wheel of either of these 2 cars.
Not a daily driver.
Bugatti was just a legendary name in automotive design, but the company floundered and pretty much died in the early 1950s. This is one of the last cars they produced. The EB110 being a revival that didn't quite take off. This is actually quite cool. This is a Type 64 Bugatti from 1939. And, the Bugatti factory had been bombed during World War II, which is pretty much what killed the company. But this frame survived. This chassis had been found in the ruins of the factory, and the Mullins bought it and restored it, but then decided it would be neat to get a body built for it.
Oh, wow.
And Peter Mullin is on the board of directors at the Art Center in Pasadena, so he had the students there design and build a body for his chassis.
Wow, look at that.
And they used the same old techniques that Bugatti had used for constructing their aluminum bodies and built it on this buck. Ettore Bugatti, famous car designer, Italian, of course, with a name like that, but his car company was German.
Oh, seriously?
Seriously, he started his car company in Germany, and then they ended up in France.
So they moved to France?
Actually, France moved to them.
Oh, seriously?
At the end of World War I, they redrew the dividing lines, and his factory ended up in France.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, they're best known as a French automobile company following the French Art Nouveau movement of the late 1800s and early 1900s. Before building automobiles, the family was known as jewelry makers and jewelry designers.
That doesn't surprise me. These look just like jewelry.
They really do. Look at this beautiful custom design that they did for a Middle Eastern prince who went on to be the Shah of Iran.
Oh, wow.
And speaking of jewelry...
Oh, no kidding. Is there a way to mount that into a ring setting?
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh, wow.
People bought it, though, like crazy because it was so fun to drive. One of the world's earliest sports cars. The rich and famous would bag these things and then just putter around Paris. Just incredible.
Wow.
But they were also really well known for their luxurious limousines like this Type 50. These are some patterns that were also rescued from the bombed-out factory after World War II, and the Mullins have ended up with those. But these are some of the wood patterns that were used for making the cast iron engine parts and that sort of thing. Just fascinating to think of the history. This is absolutely fascinating. A Type 57 that turned up in a barn in France.
Really?
A collector bought it in 1950 and shoved it in his barn and didn't do anything with it, just let it decay and rot away. But it turned up in 1986, and now the Mullins have beautifully restored the car.
It is beautiful.
It's hard to believe that's the same car.
Oh, no kidding.
Here's another Type 57 that the Mullins have. A lot of these cars live at the Mullins collection up in Oxnard.
Oh, wow.
But they bring the cars down here to the Peterson, where they have the Mullen Gallery.
The lines on this look like it's in the wind or driving fast, even at a standstill. Look at that.
I just love the concept of the paint pattern. It's just gorgeous. All these cars are just gorgeous. But as I say, they were known for their limousines, and I guess some British royalty insulted them at some point in time, said they weren't as good as a Rolls-Royce, and they decided to develop the ultimate limousine that would only be sold to royalty. And they started work on the Bugatti Royale.
Oh, gee.
But these are some of the earlier cars. The Bugatti Royale was going to be just a monster vehicle, but they only ever built 7 of them. But they were still building their nimble little sports cars, and so they developed the Type 46 here. Kind of a mini Royale, they called it, a sports version of the Royale, as the Royale was never officially released. Try to find a Bugatti Royale. Can't imagine what one of those would cost at auction. And they were really well known for their race cars.
Oh, wow, look at that one.
Is that thing neat? Now, Ettore himself designed this one, but his oldest son, Jean, was also involved in building the race cars. Unfortunately, his son Jean was killed in one of the race cars when they were trying to develop a faster version of this very car. But they sold a bunch of these, and they were raced in all of the Grand Prix races, and, well, they did really well in the Grand Prix races. They had over 2,000 Grand Prix wins. There was nothing that could touch the Bugattis.
Wow.
They won the first ever Grand Prix of Monaco. They always cleaned up at Le Mans. They were just untouchable. Of course, back then, racing was really a hobby for the rich and famous. And so a lot of the rich and famous not only raced these cars, they took them out on the weekend and screwed around with them. So it wasn't uncommon to see some multi-millionaire cruising around Paris in his race car.
Oh, gee.
Isn't that fun?
That's just fun.
Now, they also offered a child's version,
Well,
a
of
little
course.
electric one, because if daddy's rich, you want your own Bugatti.
Absolutely.
Two of their best-known drivers from back then were Louis Chiron in the early days and Pierre Viron after that. And the newest Bugattis have been named after those two drivers.
That's cool.
Isn't that neat?
That's nice.
And what we have here is a 1936 Bugatti Type 57 Atlantique.
Oh my, look at that one.
They only built 3 of these. And there's one right there. Here again, it's jewelry.
Unusual and beautiful. Look at the lines on that.
I've never seen
Wow.
anything like it.
No.
And it's just gorgeous. They've got a 1/8 scale buck here, a recreation of the original buck that was used to create the aluminum coachwork. They also used that to create a 1/8 scale model,
Oh, how
which
neat.
is really cool. But there it is, the
Oh.
Type 57 Atlantic.
Just beautiful. My goodness, the lines on that are just gorgeous.
They're amazing. It's easy to understand why when one of these came up for auction a few years ago, Peter Mullin just had to have it.
I can see why.
And he paid $44 million for this
Oh.
car, making it the most expensive automobile purchase ever. Well, there it is, the Mullen Gallery at the Peterson.
What can you say except wow?
Except wow. And this is just one room
Yeah.
here at the Peterson. We haven't even looked at the Ferrari gallery yet.
Okay, we got to go there.
Well, those are some,
Man.
that's some rarefied air just around those cars,
No
never mind the cars
kidding.
themselves. Just
Gee. Yeah.
$40 million car.
Just
$44 million car. We just
For
want
one.
to discount the $4 million and change there
yeah.
for that one car.
Yeah. Just
And never mind, some of those cars are potentially worth that much. It's just that the Mullins have no interest in putting them on the auction to see what in the world they're actually worth.
right. Wow.
So go figure.
Priceless.
Priceless. We will be back to the Peterson to look at the Ferrari gallery
Oh, boy.
at some point. More very expensive cars, not quite as expensive
No,
as
but-
the Bugattis. The most expensive Ferrari
yeah.
collection's only worth $40 million,
Yeah.
not $44 million. So just way cheaper. Way cheaper. Anyway, if you haven't been over to the channel, do pop on over to the channel. And if you're not a subscriber, do subscribe.
Yes.
Because subscribing, if you click on your little subscribing bell, means that you'll be notified whenever we upload movies, so you want that. And the easy way to subscribe is the blue button, right? So it's right down here, blue button, and it says subscribe, and it functions just as it says. It'll make you a subscriber. Now, if you don't see it and you can't click on it, that's because it isn't there. It isn't supported on all devices.
Sad but true.
So you can just search for Toyman Television, and that'll take you to the channel, and you can click subscribe, and you can click the like button while you're at it.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And just have some fun with that. And then you can binge watch to your heart's content.
Yes.
All starting with, let's do that again. Zoink! the blue button, which may or may not be there, depending on your device.
Send him an email.
Send them an email. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here again next week with some more massive screwing around. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.